Alright guys, the fourth and final Alien Omnibus of original years is here. And this one contains quite a bit of story, a lot of kind of just actual stories instead of just one-shots. Now, we got a lot in the second and especially third volume of the Alien Omnibuses, but this one contains a couple of shorts. So we got that Fast Tracks to Heaven, Alien Colonial Marine, No Man Left Behind, and number one, Alien Isolation, which is kind of just more of a freebie from Free Comic Book Day that leads into the series. And then we get into Aliens Defiance, which is 1 to 12 issues, Aliens Dead Orbit, which is 1 to 4 issues, Aliens Dust to Dust is 1 to 4 issues, Aliens 3, the unproduced screenplay, is 5 issues, Aliens Resistance is 4 issues, Aliens Rescue is 4 issues, and Aliens the original screenplay for the first movie is 1 to 5 issues. And then there's also these material from like Dark Horse Presents, and that's 12 to 17, which is pretty much a very short like little mini story. So that is what's in this omnibus, and it's over 1,000 pages, just slightly. And I have to say, before we get into the negatives and positives, guys, this is it. This is the final part. It's almost beautiful to see 4 major omnibuses of Alien on my display shelf. But as you know, if you've watched my reviews up to this point, not all of them have been great. Especially 2 kind of floundered and 3 really dropped the ball. I was a little iffy on 4. So let's jump right into it. As we flip the pages right in the beginning, these are mostly the one-shot stories, kind of like Fast Track to Heaven and No Man's Left Behind. These are the weakest part of this book. These are pretty much the most forgettable Alien stories you can think of. None of it is very good, none of it is very interesting, and the Alien Isolation kind of mini wasn't that good either. So, like, these are not good stories, if I'm going to be completely honest. Luckily, we get about 250 pages in or so, maybe a little bit more, and we run into Aliens Defiance. Now, I read this back in 2018. It's 12 issues broken into pretty much 2 parts. So the first 6 issues, the second 6 issues make the entire series, and it is pretty great. This might be one of the best, if not the best, Alien comic story for me. This is about a character named Zula, who is a Marine who is kind of separated from her crew after having to do some unfortunate things to them after they get attacked by xenomorphs, and then has to team up with this android Davis to kind of survive. And it's a very human meets android, and working together to kind of meet in the middle, maybe some humanity from both of them somehow, and also try to stop a major threat to humanity with the xenomorphs. So this 12-issue series has to be one of the best, because I absolutely love the characters in here, from the android Davis to Zula, who is also a very, very interesting character, and a character you can kind of relate to, who pushes herself to the very edge, never to give up. This has a lot of heart. This has the stuff that I like in Aliens. This has the, momentum that I expect from Alien comics, to be honest. And this is written by Brian Wood, who actually makes a sequel to this series with Aliens Resistance and Aliens Rescue. So this is kind of like a 3-parter for him. But before we get to those, we actually stop in Dead Orbit, which is by James Stokes, I believe. And wow, this art-wise is gritty, beautifully done, kind of that 90s, 80s art mixed with modern take coloring. And it just looks and feels great. There's some great imagery in this. Saying that, the story itself is bare bones and minimal and confusing at times, but luckily the art saves it. It's a beautiful one to read. You'll finish it in about 15 minutes. There's very minimal dialogue, but the artwork is gorgeous. It's the second time I've also read this, so I like to reread it again and really enjoy the art this time. Saying that, I still think the story is a little bit weaker, especially coming from something like Defiance, which I was absolutely in love with the characters. And then before we get back to it, we also have Aliens Dust to Dust. Now, I've never heard of this comic, and I was very pleasantly surprised. Now, the outcome of the entire story is about a boy who's trying to survive a night against these xenomorphs after one of them comes out of his mother's chest. And it's basically a little unit of people just surviving with the boy as the centerpiece of the group. And I wasn't really sure what to think of it at first, but I really liked the grainy kind of disgusting art that's going on, very sketchy, but it fits so well with the alien story here. It makes them feel like they can be around any corner, that you just don't know where they're coming from. So this story was a nice surprise. I will say, like I said, it's a little bit predictable and nothing to happen I didn't expect not to happen. But as the story wise, like the pacing wise, it was well done. There were some great deaths and the art really won me over. So this is one of the better stories in this collection. Then we jump to Aliens Resistance, which is the second story written by Brian Wood and kind of a follow-up to Defiance, even though you could kind of just read that story and not read anything else, and it fits and has a good ending. But Resistance really feels like kind of a weak follow-up. It's very fast-paced. It kind of feels jarring that the characters Zula and now Ripley's much down the line relative Amanda team up, and I believe Amanda's from the Isolation game, which I only played a little bit. But anyway, this story is okay. It just feels very jarring and too fast-paced and missing the heart of Defiance. Luckily, the final piece to the puzzle, Aliens Rescue, the final part with Brian Wood, is really actually very good. Or I'd say it's good. I don't know if I go very good. It feels much better done than Resistance, even though it has the same characters, Zula and Amanda, and of course Alex. So it has these characters from Resistance, but it's just done better, and it's a little bit slower paced, so we get the human side of it. I really wish we delved a little bit deeper into Alec and why he joined the Marines and the stuff that I would have to face mentally. But overall, I still really enjoyed this story. So it was going really well, and then we jump right into the last two stories, which is the original screenplay for the Alien movie. So before Alien was made, this was the first screenplay of it, and it has a lot of the same beats. It hits a lot of the major factors, like the chest burst scene, and the ending is like page to page, movie to movie, the exact same. But we have a lot of cool things. You get to see what the xenomorphs would have been without what they become, and they're more slimy and disgusting, almost lizard-like, which I really enjoyed. And it's kind of just cool to go through the story again. I do feel like there's way too much exposition in the beginning, and maybe that's how it is in the movie, but the movie is just much more visually pleasing to go through this new world with these characters than this. I felt kind of was a little boring till about midway, then it picked up. So really cool to see what it would have been without the movie and what it became. And then the final one is the Alien 3 script that was never made. Now, if you don't know about Alien 3, it went to production hell, so it was really cool to see a comic version of it. Saying that, this story kind of, to be honest, wasn't very good. It was pretty much worse than Alien 3, the movie, in my opinion. It was cool to see Hicks and Newt alive. That's things I like, but Ripley was pretty much a non-player in this whole story till the end, and even Hicks and Newt didn't really get much to do. This was a very blabbity science-fi, like just talking about why we have to do this and the species and all that, and then you get this kind of hybrid thing going on, which happens in Alien Resurrection, so I felt like maybe they took some of that from the script, but overall this was just kind of, there was some cool body horror, but overall, this was a story that really I could have lived without ever reading. But that's it. That's the entire omnibus. I try to keep it vague with each story. I don't want to spoil too much for you guys, but I really thought this was a huge improvement from 3. Now, Volume 1, I think, still holds a special heart of how much it surprised me, how much I did enjoy it, and I felt like they took the most risks in that. However, I will say that this one contained Defiance, which is a big chunk of this omnibus at 12 issues, that actually might be my favorite Alien comic story. So saying that, you got that, plus Dead Orbit, and Dust to Dust, and the follow-ups, Resistance and Rescue, that all borderline good to some great moments, with Defiance being a great story. And that takes up the majority of this volume, which is really nice. However, we do still get that original screenplay of the third Alien, which kind of is the end of this omnibus, and it's kind of a sluggish one to get through at 5 issues, and the opening, really, the first 150 pages, just, honestly, you could skip these stories. They fucking suck, if I'm gonna be 100% honest. Saying that, though, and I know I keep saying that, I gotta really learn not to say that, this is a good omnibus. I think this is a good ending, and not as strong as the first volume of Alien, but way better than Volume 2, and especially Volume 3, so I'm gonna award Volume 4 of the Alien Omnibus series a 3.5 out of 5. Now, what do you guys think? What did you think of these omnibuses? I read some of these stories back in the day, but a lot of these were brand new to me in terms of the whole series, now completely done in omnibus form. What do we say? Do we want more? I would love another Predator omnibus. If you guys haven't seen my review on that, absolutely love to check that out. But what about you guys? Would you like to see the Alien vs. Predator comic series put on paper in omnibus form? Me, personally, I would love it. I don't know why we have not gotten that announcement now that Marvel owns this, but Marvel, get on it. Please stop wasting my time. I need to read this stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, hit the like button. That's always nice of you. If you loved it, more reviews are coming. Hit that subscribe button. And everybody else, have a nice day.